about what they're called, about what they do, and the need to put this information out, and about what they will be called. I'm glad to say. So that isn't the key thing. Nevertheless, it's very unpleasant to say that is a euphemistic word. For a patriotic person, and I grew up in World War II, very patriotic, joined Marines, State Department, to be called a traitor. And you can almost get used to almost anything, over the years, over 40 years, but it's very hard to get used to that. Okay, a story, plus how much? Have I gone over my time already?
Why don't you take another 5 minutes?
What?
5 minutes.
Okay, let me tell you something. Ian Stone, and before him George Seldes, who was his predecessor as a investigative journalist, used to make a big point of showing how the news was slanted by headlines, or placing in the newspaper, or the kind of pictures that would come out, or the stories that would accompany. He said, don't just look at the content, but also at all these other factors. Well, I was looking today, just now, I was looking for another story, just before we started here, on Google, on New York Times. And here's a story that was not in my morning's New York Times, I'm pretty sure it was. So I think it's on their blog. Can you hear me? Sorry. It's on their blog. And it is, yeah, here's the story. Here's on the front, the cover of the, on the front page. Snowden appeals to U.S. Oh wait, it's different from the cover, which is also interesting. Sorry. Okay, let's see how to look critically at the way this stuff does and why we need something beyond the New York Times. Here it is. On the front page. Snowden appeals to U.S. for clemency on leaks. Alison Smale, the former intelligence contractor Edward J. Snowden, made the appeal in a letter given to a German politician. Now, I thought, wait a minute. Everything I've heard of Snowden, I've had some communication with him, and my friends had met him in Russia, and everything I've heard from him, this doesn't sound right. This is not the Snowden. I know appeals for clemency. First of all, he is not dumb enough to think that Obama, the man who has prosecuted more people than all presidents put together 3 times the sentence, is going to give them clemency. The man who says, Obama, leaking is criminal, and pursued him to this extent. He couldn't be that dumb. Appealed? Also, I didn't hear him, the Snowden I knew, appealing exactly, not his discourse. And so I look at the story inside. And this has a slightly different headline. Snowden asks U.S. to stop treating him like a traitor. Like a traitor. Okay, and again, and that's the first sentence, has appealed to Washington to stop treating him like a traitor for revealing that the U.S. has been eavesdropping on his allies. Again, I said that sounded funny. Now, in the new digital age, and I'll give the Times credit for coming up to speed to this extent, they include the actual letter. So it's very easy. Yeah, letter. So it's easy, actually, and I urge you to do this. Look at your blog, take a look at the letter. It's a one-page type thing. Here's the difference from the headlines and the lead. It's not addressed to the U.S. at all, neither the government nor the public. It is addressed to the German government, and the issue has to do with whether he can be brought back or somehow arranged by Skype to testify on spying on Merkel. Okay? So it's not an appeal. It's not an appeal for anything to anybody. Take a look at the letter. Second, the word traitor does not occur. Third, clemency is not mentioned in any fashion in the letter. The leading cert has nothing to do with it. Here's what he does say. I've been invited to write you regarding your investigation, Germans. He gave it to a member of parliament to take back to parliament, their parliament, Bundestag. In the course of my service to these organizations, which he named, CIA, NSA, and DIA, I believe I witnessed systemic violations of law by my government that created a moral duty to act. As a result of reporting these concerns, I have faced a severe and sustained campaign and persecution that forced me from my family and home. I am currently living in exile under a grant of temporary asylum in the Russian Federation in accordance with international law. I am heartened by the response to my active political expression in both the US and beyond. By the way, this is only reference to his reaction to the response. He's heartened by the response, which he has indeed gotten from a lot of people in the country and not others. Not from the government, of course. Citizens around the world, as well as high officials, including the United States, have judged the revelation of an unaccountable system of pervasive surveillance to be a public service. These fine revelations have resulted in the proposal of many new laws and policies to address formerly concealed abuses of the public trust. The benefits to society of this growing knowledge are becoming increasingly clear. At the same time, claimed risks are being shown to have been mitigated. And then he says, though the outcome of my efforts has been demonstratively positive, my government continues to treat dissent as defection and seeks to criminalize political speech with felony charges that provide no defense. By no defense, he's referring to the case against, I was the first to face those charges. I wasn't allowed to tell the jury why I had copied the Pentagon Papers. The prosecution successfully objected on the grounds that motive or intention was not an issue, just had I given them out or not content. My lawyer said, Your Honor, I've never heard of a case in which a defendant was not allowed to tell the jury why he did what he's alleged to have done, or what he did do. And the judge says, well, now you have. And that's true of every case since. Not Manning, Tom Drake, Kiriakou, I could name them all, were able to tell either the judge or the jury either what was in their mind, why they did this. That's the way the law is written, which in my opinion, and not just mine, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a defendant, but in the opinion of many legal scholars, that law so applied is unconstitutional for Obama and for all the other cases. But anyway, he's saying here, you're not allowed to do it, which is exactly right. However, speaking the truth is not a crime. Now, I do have to say that he does say one questionable sentence now. He says, I am confident that with the support of the international community, the government of the United States will abandon this harmful behavior. Well, no, I don't believe he's confident. But he's confident. And a minor thought I want to leave you with here, actually, is we have seen something really happen in our democracy that's quite extraordinary, unprecedented, really. And gives me a kind of hope that, frankly, I could not have expressed to you 2 months ago. Not in a very hopeful mood. In fact, coming in here, I used my Google to remind myself of a poem by E.E. Cummings, of which I remembered the words, listen, there's a hell of a good universe next door, let's go. The beginning of that poem is, pity this, something, pity this busy monster, man unkind, not. Progress is a comfortable disease, and he goes on. He wrote that in 1944, I forgot. But that's the mood I've been in for, actually. That's where it is, not the universe, but, and not the earth, just the humans, the primates, the mammals. And we will probably survive climate change and even nuclear war. If there's 7 billion of us at that time, 6 billion or more will go from nuclear winter. Given the nuclear warheads that Obama is proposing to reduce to. He wants to go down to 1,000 nuclear warheads on alert. That's far more than enough to cause nuclear winter. I won't go through it if you look it up, if you don't know what that means. But to kill the harvests by diminution of sunlight for a very prolonged period of 10 years and so forth. At the same time, climate. Okay, today's paper. The government is for the first time explicitly talking about the need for cities to adapt to climate change on the assumption that it will not be, the great climate change will not be prevented, and to make it possible for cities to be subsidized to some extent in building dams against the sea as it rises, things like that, moving people.